Good morning. It is 8:12 a.m. on Monday, March 15th, 2021. Are you bewaring? I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. That's what I say. This is 5 more minutes. I got distracted by my clever joke. um, Last night, Mike and I recorded our part two of our Mission Impossible James Bond discussion. So that YouTube video should be like probably up by the time you're watching this. It's currently processing. But yeah, that was a good discussion. I had a good time with that. I'm struggling to be awake right now because once again I stayed up later than I really ought to have, and that's on top of the time change adjustment now. I tend to be someone who rolls their eyes a little bit when people complain about the time change because it's just an hour. It's not that big a deal. And I maintain that. But at the same time, it's not nothing. And so if I'm already talking about I stayed up too late and slept into, and had to get up earlier than I wanted, and then it's an extra hour, then yeah, okay. I think that's fair to complain about for 2 days at the most. um, Part of what I was doing in staying up late was I was watching a movie called Judas and the Black Messiah, which was on HBO Max. And I watched it last night because I don't remember actually even off the top of my head if this is really true or if I just kind of thought that it might be. And I think I remembered hearing that it was going to be available for streaming on HBO Max only up through yesterday. And I think that might actually be true, but I had had some interest in it and so decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and watch it because I might not be able to as easily tomorrow. So I watched it. And so if you're not familiar, this is a movie starring Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, all about the real story of Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Black Panther Party in Chicago in what? That was the 60s, right? Yeah, 60s. And then Lakeith Stanfield, and so that's played by Daniel Kaluuya, who was the lead in Get Out and was in Black Panther and has done a lot of great things. And then Lakeith Stanfield, who's also been in a lot of great things, plays Bill O'Neill, who is a character that gets recruited by the FBI to infiltrate the Black Panthers and inform on Fred Hampton. And then ultimately betrays him. Comes to be sympathetic to him, but then ultimately betrays him nonetheless. And so this is like a true story, and it's, just so it's very good. I liked it quite a lot. It had, it's a story that I knew in the broad strokes, but didn't certainly know all the details of. And I'm also I'm not enough of an expert on the story to know where the movie might have been using some cinematic license, to change the real history. But my understanding is it's pretty it seems to be hewing pretty close, within reason, when you're making a historical movie. Oh, to be clear, when I say that Bill O'Neill betrayed Fred Hampton, I mean by participating in the FBI's plot to assassinate Fred Hampton, because that's what happened. It wasn't all on Bill O'Neill. Basically, the FBI leaned on him and made him do it, and then there was a big conspiracy with the local police and everything to assassinate this guy because even though he was already going to prison, there's a whole thing. Martin Sheen plays J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, there's some, and part of what watching it brings to mind is just this recognition that in a lot of ways, our society has made a lot of progress on some of these issues, but in a lot of other ways, we really are dealing with exactly the same kind of stuff and the same kind of people who are so worried about, like, oh, we've got to protect our way of life because it's good for us, and who cares if it's good for anyone else. So if other people are going to try to make it better for them, and we think that that might make it even a little bit worse for us, we better shut them down really quick. And that includes police brutality and so on. And yeah, so it's awful that that stuff continues to be so relevant. But in the meantime, though, I thought it was a very good movie. Also has Jesse Plemons in it, who I've liked in a lot of things as the FBI agent that's working with Bill O'Neill, and I think it's very well photographed. I feel like it's not a perfect movie. I think there were, if I were going to nitpick, I would say that they kind of have to just tell us that Bill O'Neill looks up to this FBI agent as a sort of role model, and that's part of why he has these divided loyalties. But, like, I don't really feel that in the movie. Like, they kind of say that, but I don't really, like, I don't ever really buy that on screen. It really feels more like what I suspect was reality, which is the FBI saying, we picked you up for stealing a car and pretending to be a federal agent, and we're going to send you to prison if you don't help us. And yes, you have to keep helping us, and we will pay you, but if you want to stop, then we will send you to prison. And so that's not a friend. That's not a role model. That's someone who's extorting you. Now, I mean, to be fair, like, he did do the crime, and I'm not saying that's okay. But it's just one of those things where at a certain point you want to say, well, as a moral person, at what point do you just say, well, I have to accept that the consequences for my action are to go to prison rather than to, compromise my morals otherwise. But I don't know. It's all very complicated, right? Like, I say from a position of great privilege compared to the characters in this movie. So I think it's nicely complex. But yeah, it's a good movie. And I'll leave it there, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.